For decades, Hollywood sold the image of the perfect woman, modest, sweet, untouchable. But there were actresses who broke all the rules. With just one glance, one curve, a sentence spoken with a soft voice, they set the screen on fire like no one else. Today, we're taking a look back at the 20 sexiest actresses of classic Hollywood, those who ignited passions, sparked scandals, and left an unforgettable mark on the collective desire of entire generations. Ready? Let's dive in. Linda Darnell didn't need to exaggerate or shout to captivate. Her sensuality was quiet, dark, and dangerous. With those intense eyes and defined lips, she could transform from a refined lady to an irresistible temptation in seconds. Hollywood tried to pigeonhole her, but her power was too real to limit her to soft roles. In films like Forever Amber and Unfaithfully Yours, her presence lit up the screen without ever needing to undress. She was the type of woman who sat in silence and still dominated the room. They called her the bomb, and it wasn't an exaggeration. Anne Sheridan had a magnetic energy that combined physical sensuality with an explosive character. Her mix of cheekiness, healthy beauty, and natural charisma made her a national fantasy during the 1940s. While other actresses cultivated an ethereal image, Sheridan was flesh and blood bold, direct, with a smile that suggested much more than she said. She was the fantasy of soldiers at war and the symbol of a new woman who no longer asked for permission to seduce. Ingrid Bergman wasn't your typical bombshell, and yet her sensuality was a silent threat. In films like Casablanca and Notorious, her gaze hit a fire that barely hinted at itself, but everyone could feel it. She was the woman who entered with grace, and without raising her voice, disarmed anyone in her path. Her accent, her sweetness, her mystery everything about her suggested a contained, repressed passion. And when she finally let go, the effect was devastating. Clara Bow was the first to turn youth into something dangerously sexy. With her playful gaze, slightly parted lips, and that overflowing energy, she sexualized the 1920s without apology. That's why they called her the It Girl. Bow wasn't just a pretty face, she was pure provocation. In an era that still didn't know how to handle female desire, her presence was wild, uncontrollable, as if the camera could barely contain her. Natalie Wood started as a child prodigy, but her transformation into a woman was one of the most striking in classic cinema. Her sweet face contrasted with a growing sensuality, almost innocent yet filled with desire. With every new film, her magnetism grew. In Splendor in the Grass and Lovers with a Stranger, Wood showcased a unique mix of fragility and fire, making her both an object of desire and a symbol of the transition between innocence and daring. Her sensuality didn't shout, it whispered, and that made it even more powerful. Lauren Bacall didn't need to move much to steal a scene. Her deep voice and feline gaze did all the work. Her mere presence conveyed power, mystery, and a contained desire that exploded with just a raised eyebrow. In To Have and Have Not and The Big Sleep, alongside Humphrey Bogart, she showed that sensuality could be subtle, elegant, and deadly all at once. She was the woman who didn't need to ask for attention. She took it effortlessly, and no one dared to look away. Elizabeth Taylor was not just classic beauty. Her gaze could melt anyone with just a few seconds of holding it. She had a natural sensuality, but also an aura of danger and passion that made it impossible to ignore her. In Cleopatra and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, she played with her magnetism as if she knew the entire world was watching her, and she was fine with that, because Taylor didn't act like a goddess. She was one. Jane Mansfield was the provocative answer to Marilyn Monroe's refined sensuality. Where Monroe was insinuation, Mansfield was an explosion. With exaggerated curves and delicious audacity, she broke all the boundaries of Hollywood decorum. In Promises and her public appearances, she played with her body as a weapon of provocation, doing so with full awareness of the effect she was causing. She was censored, attacked, but never ignored. Veronica Lake was the queen of sensuality and mystery. Her hairstyle, covering one eye, became a symbol of silent seduction. In every role, she projected a mix of innocence and provocation that left the viewer defenseless. She was the woman who seemed to hide secrets in every gesture, and every time she spoke, the temperature effortlessly rose. Hollywood didn't know how to handle her. That's why they tried to dim her light. But her myth was already unstoppable. Hedy Lamarr was not only one of the most beautiful women in cinema, she was also a brilliant mind who invented technologies ahead of her time. But on screen, her beauty was almost unreal. Exotic, hypnotic, with a dangerous elegance. In Ecstasy and Samson and Delilah, her image transcended sensuality. She was mythical, as if she didn't quite belong to this world. Her combination of intelligence and eroticism made her an eternal icon, and a secret Hollywood could never fully control. Claudette Colbert disarmed the audience with a scene that still feels daring today, lifting her skirt to flash her leg, and it happened one night, 1934. That moment, subtle and playful, was an act of provocation during the height of the Hays Code era. She wasn't a traditional sex symbol, but her sensuality lay in her wit, irony, and the precise gesture at the perfect moment. Colbert proved that a woman could be desired while remaining intelligent, independent, and elegant. Mae West didn't need approval. She was bold, witty, sexual, and proud of it. While others acted as if they didn't know the effect they had, she said it out loud, with double entendre included. Her way of speaking, walking, and looking were weapons she wielded with surgical precision. In an era where sensuality had to be hidden, Mae West made it her flag, and no one, not even the censors, could fully stop her. The first platinum blonde in cinema arrived like a hurricane. Jean Harlow was the embodiment of desire in the 1930s, a woman whose mere presence made the moral establishment of the time nervous. Her way of dressing, provocative eyes, and that smile that said everything without saying anything made her the wet dream of Hollywood before the Hays Code. She died young, but her image lived on in every blonde who wanted to be sexy without asking for permission. Dorothy Dandridge was a revolution both on and off the screen. Not only was she the first African-American actress nominated for an Oscar, but her presence combined vulnerability with irresistible magnetism. In Carmen Jones, her performance and sensuality broke all the racial and moral barriers of the time. She was desired, judged, admired, and punished. But her legacy remains one of the most powerful and courageous acts of seduction in classic cinema. Ultimate blonde bombshell. Her mere presence on screen was a provocation. With that mix of feigned innocence and contained desire, Monroe was desire incarnate, and the industry knew it. Although many tried to reduce her to an image, she wielded her sensuality like a silent, lethal weapon, becoming a myth that still burns in the collective memory. Her image was never just a body, it was a declaration of freedom in a world that tried to confine her. In Gilda, all it took was for her to remove a glove to set the entire cinema on fire. Rita Hayworth was the goddess of love, but also the woman trapped in the system, used and celebrated for her magnetism. Her sensuality wasn't scandalous, it was hypnotic. A woman who didn't ask for permission, she simply looked, and the world trembled. Behind the glamour, there was a complex figure, molded and often sacrificed by the machinery of the studios. But her power on screen was impossible to control. She was wild, free, untamable. Ava Gardner didn't act sensuality, she breathed it. She had that dangerous beauty that didn't seek approval, only devotion. Her presence on screen was pure fire, and off it, she was a legend with red lips and a wounded heart. In her memoirs and interviews, she never denied her intensity or her fragility, and that made her even more unforgettable. Sinatra said it better than anyone. She was the only thing worth it. Jane Russell didn't need to strip to provoke scandals. All it took was her walk. In The Outlaw, her silhouette sparked the fury of the censors and the delirium of the public. She had a defiant sensuality, a woman who didn't ask for permission to be desired. Her gaze was a challenge, and her body, a declaration of war against conservative morality. With humor, strength, and boldness, Russell showed that sex could also be strong, sarcastic, and dangerously free. Although she wasn't part of Hollywood, Brigitte Bardot set its morals on fire just by existing. Her appearance in And God Created Woman, 1956, forever changed the way cinema portrayed desire, and although the American industry tried to resist, it couldn't ignore her. She was free, irreverent, and sexual without apology. With her uninhibited walk and provocative gaze, Bardot became a global symbol of eroticism, making it clear that sensuality had no nationality or boundaries. Her impact was so powerful that Hollywood began breaking its own rules. though it never found anyone like her again. Hips, lips, a lethal gaze. Sophia Loren didn't act out desire, she embodied it. Her entrance into American cinema brought with it a new image of women, passionate, strong, and sensual to the core. In films like Two Women and El Cid, her presence was so intense that it even overshadowed her male co-stars. It wasn't just her Mediterranean beauty that hypnotized, but her attitude. A mix of mischief, intelligence, and absolute confidence in her own body. These women didn't just light up the screen, they forever changed the way cinema portrayed desire. Their sensuality broke the boundaries of censorship, shattered norms, and left a lasting mark that is still alive today. Which of these women do you think had the most power, the one who truly shook Hollywood to its core? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode.